today. My name is Jordan McCracken-Foster, and I am a teaching artist here at Art Prof. And I am here today with Prof. Lieu. And what we're going to discuss today are the July Art Dare Texture Cubes Challenge. This is going to be really exciting. So if you guys are interested in turning your artistic weakness into your strength, then definitely check out our website and our YouTube channel, where we have lots of great resources like tutorials and critiques and pro development and all that good stuff. So Clara, why don't you get us started and what the submissions were for this past month's Dare?
Well, so the Art Dare was for people to create cubes of all different textures. And we told people that they could use any media that they wanted, although some of the examples that we gave were done digitally. But it was really fun to see all the different ways that people approached it. And I'll say one of the funnest things about this Dare, not only making the cubes, but seeing what people chose for textures. And I really feel like because we have such a big international audience, I learned a lot about different objects and candy that I never knew about. So it was really fun to see how people really reflected their identity in terms of the choice of the textures. Okay, the first artist we're going to look at is Hiji Kim from Korea. And Hiji talks about how digital painting, which they used, was a real challenge because she's really new to it. And so it took much longer to make the digital artworks than they thought, but they had a lot of fun. And they really enjoyed painting a broad range with the digital pencil. They did wood blocks, opal, Korean old-fashioned candy, M&Ms, candy bar, beetles, so really broad range. Now, Jordan, you're the resident digital art expert here at Art Prof. How do you think Hiji did?
I think these are really solid, and I especially like the number of risks that were taken. So some of them have more matte painting or style when it comes to like the woodblock, and then some of them like the opal, they're just glowing, and you have a bite taken out of the M&M. And I really appreciate that sort of experimentation, and I think that's what makes this project successful. When anyone's doing the texture cubes, that experimentation is key.
Yeah, the range of textures and even the sheen. Like, I love this one on the left. I'm gonna guess this is the Korean candy because I don't know what it is, but it's like, you know, that candy surface, that sheen that comes with sugar when it's colored. So even if I don't know the candy itself, I definitely recognize that surface. And Hiji, I can't believe that you don't have tons of experience digital painting, because these look pretty freaking awesome to me. What do you think, Jordan, in terms of her first real stab at digital painting?
I think these are really solid. I can think of a couple people who did a similar challenge with the cubes, and their first try, they just, they really, really struggled. And even though you say you did, it doesn't come off like you did, which I think is a good thing. So definitely really exciting that you're able to go this far for one of your first times digital painting. And I'm really excited to see what you're going to be able to produce in the future.
I'm so excited. We have some of the artists who we're going to talk about today live in the chat. So we're seeing a message from Cole. I don't know how to say your last name, Pepe. They're one of the finalists. And so we're excited to show your work later on. So if you're one of the artists in the stream, please tell us, because we love it when you guys are here with us live in the chat to tell people about the work that you did. Okay, next artist we're going to talk about is Blue Wolf Spirit from the US. And Blue Wolf Spirit, you're very productive because we have a lot of cubes from you here. So Blue Wolf Spirit says this is the first month they completed a whole art dare, which, of course, big accomplishment. And they say that they got creative with the bugs because, ew, trying to avoid creepy ones. And the rocks were all from real life references. Ew. And the fantasy cubes came from their metaphysical and sci-fi background. So let me just read out loud to you guys all of the subjects, because you might not be able to see in the slide. So there's a butterfly, potato beetle, fly, dragonfly, grasshopper, ladybug, rose quartz, green calcite, leopard skin jasper, blue lace agate. There's caramel, sugar-free hard candy, watermelon cake, mint patties. I mean, There's a lot going on here. And these, by the way, they're done in oiled pastel. What do you think, Jordan?
I think these are really fun. I think there's a certain looseness with the style that you can achieve here that's really difficult to achieve in digital. And so I love that sort of the textures that you're getting and all the different ideas that you have for the creepy ew bugs that you mentioned in the statement. So it looks like you had so much fun with this, and I really, really appreciate that.
We do have two more artists in the chat. Cat is one of the artists, and so is Tom G. So I'm really happy that you guys are here because it's just so much fun to see what everybody did. You know what I think is cool is that Blue Wolf Spirit added these shadows because that was not really part of the prompt. But I feel like that extra push with the shadow, it just gives the objects a little bit more weight, because I feel like a big part of this in terms of really getting the texture across is the tactility. I think a lot of people think about texture and rubbing your fingers on something, like when you go clothes shopping, you want to feel if the sweater is too scratchy or, that type of thing. And I love the bites. Like, I don't know what it is about the bites when people add that, like the one in the upper left of the mint patty. I don't know. It's like extra satisfying. What is it about the bite?
Well, I think, at least for me, when I was doing the cubes, I would do stuff like that. And part of it is just to tell a little bit more of a story, because it's very easy to just make a cube, but I think even when we did the initial launch video for the July texture challenge, we encouraged trying to make it your own, like take a bite out of it and just see what it will do. Like, what do the teeth marks around it look like? Does it have goo or jelly or something that will start oozing? So I think those elements always make something stronger. So anytime I see a bite taken out of the food, it also helps me want to eat it too. There's some in here that are like, man, I really kind of want to snack on this, and it just makes it even more appetizing.
And I also think the bite makes it feel like there's a story, right? Something happened, and what is that story? I just think that's fantastic. All right, let's look at Alyssa Mercado from the US. And they say in their statement that they are trying to explore texture through the lens of their everyday life. And so there are some cubes in here that reflect aspects of Alyssa's childhood. Things like saving the orange flavored candies for last, admiring the abundance of fireflies as a kid, and other cubes show the countries where Alyssa traveled, two being fruit native to their home country, the Philippines, the stone lanterns in Japan, and the fantasy objects were inspired by movies, shows, books. And the cube represents a piece of their life, whether it comes from Alyssa or directly interacting with those objects or creatures through things they learned in school, stories told by their family, ideas expressed in the media that Alyssa consumes. So we had a lot of cubes here. Alyssa, you were very productive this month. What do you think? How did Alyssa do?
I think these are fantastic. I think probably my overall favorite thing about this is the colors. Every single one of them has such beautiful saturated colors, and especially for the food items. And that's always the trick for me, is if you can get a food item to look like something I want to eat, usually it's because it has nice saturated colors and they blend well. And so I think those are done really, really well. And also just taking inspiration from your personal life and saying, this is something I found really cool 6 months ago when I visited this place, or, those things are really amazing when you can put that in your work as an artist.
And I think it would be easy with a prompt like this for people to just think about the visual and just say, okay, I want to make the texture as good as possible. And of course, that is certainly a big part of this art dare. But it's like when people go beyond that and they really own the project personally, that these objects have meaning to them for one reason or another, that to me is really wonderful, because I think that there is sometimes a danger that the stuff is just eye candy in a way that, it's just very pretty. But it's like for Alyssa, these objects, they're not just a visual experience. They really are a personal one. So I think that is really, really cool. We have a comment here from Jay Cabby. They are saying, thanks for such a great creative prompt. I didn't get to finish mine, but I had a lot of fun. You know what? It doesn't matter if you don't finish, right? I mean, like, even if you just do a few, the fact that you guys get up and you do something, don't you think that counts for something, Jordan?
Oh yeah, definitely. Something is better than nothing when it comes to doing art. I mean, if you didn't finish, it's not like we're gonna knock on your door and like demand you complete a challenge. Like, come on, uh, So it's all about your individual artistic growth, and if you feel like you gotten something good out of it, even if you did less than someone else, then that's great. That's all. That's all we're here for, is to help you guys grow.
Yeah, for sure. That's the most important thing here. That's our priority. By the way, I wanted to say another thing about color, Jordan, because you mentioned how brilliant a lot of the colors are. But I also want to point out that Alyssa has a couple where the color's actually really dull and subtle. Like, one of my favorite ones is actually, it's a little hard to see, but it's the gray one in the middle, which I believe is based on a fossil. And so that's a cube where the color isn't really that exciting, but the texture of the fossil is so beautiful. And so it really is that Alyssa's showing such a broad range. And so what happens is that watermelon cube like really jumps out because it's this like fiery magenta, but then there's this like peachy cube on the middle on the right that's a little bit more dull. So I really appreciate what's going on in there. Blue Wolf Spirit is saying, isn't one of those opal? I'm not sure. Maybe Alyssa could tell us later on. And they are also saying, doing these cubes helped me put more textures in some of my other works. I mean, isn't that cool, Jordan, when people do the art dare and then they talk about how it influences other stuff they're making?
Yeah, it's always great. And part of the main idea for this was, I noticed that a lot of people will struggle with painting or drawing textures. And so if we can just, the idea for this challenge was, if we can just isolate the texture and not have to worry so much about, painting a big landscape along with it, and getting people to hunker down and focus on that, then maybe when they start doing their other work, they'll call back to these cubes that they did and be able to use the same type of ideation process and how to present it. So I'm glad that it worked out for everyone here.
La Tamai says, I feel like a cube is so boring, but seeing these, I can see the potential of a boring cube and how texture can do a lot. Yeah, that's what I like about this project, is that it really isolates the texture, because there is such a thing as trying to do too many things all at once. And so this is a great way, I think. Really what you guys are doing is you're building your vocabulary as an artist. Like, once you've drawn a piece of rambutan, that furry fruit, the pink one on the far left, you can always reference that from here on. So that's a really cool part of the project. Okay, the next artist we have up is Tom Geier. I don't know how to say these names. Tom is from the USA, and they're saying that they're new to the Art Prof community. Very cool. So glad you found us. And they really loved the challenge because finding different ways to create a cube motivated them to think, quote, outside of the box, of course. And they don't have any equipment for digital illustration. So Tom explains that they were going along looking for different media to make different cubes. And so Tom explains that they found drawing the cubes, exploring how to create the essence of the cube was challenging, but it helped them overcome the need to create perfect renderings. And so they made this idea that each subject has its own essence. And by examining I like this one. Sorry, I just need to stop for a second and just soak it in, because I haven't watched the Michael Fassbender clip for 8 hours. So, I need to get my fill. All right. So Tom says they could show it more easily in the cube form, whether it was 2D or 3D. And of course, the Fassbender Fantasy Cube was their crowning achievement. I have to agree with that, Tom, for sure. Oh, Tom is saying, okay, so Tom, you were so productive. There are so many cubes here. I mean, I'm still going through a lot of them. But Jordan, what do you think about these? These are not digital at all, and there's a huge range of media.
Yeah, so when we first gave the assignment, I remember someone asking if doing 3D was okay. And I was like, I've never seen someone do 3D, but if someone does it, cool, and it's really exciting to see that pay off here and seeing someone actually take that leap, because I don't think you can get any more, texture than in an actual sculpture. of whatever the subject is. So I will definitely commend Tom for, putting that out there and just saying, hey, let's actually make some real texture cubes.
Yeah, and you know what else is so fun about these? You guys should look at Tom's Instagram, because actually Tom has way more photos than this. Is actually just a small sampling of what Tom has. And by the way, the Instagrams for every artist in the stream, they're in the video description below, so you guys can check that out. I mean, I just love this photo. It's like this parade of cubes and this funny cotton candy one at the end. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's brilliant, because while you can definitely follow the prompt and do the digital stuff, I mean, we didn't tell people to do the digital necessarily, but to really follow the instructions to the T. I love it when people just go off into this whole other universe. Like, I love that this is based on a spider. How cool is this? Don't you love this?
Oh, this is awesome. I think it's so creative and it's so much fun. It's so different than a lot of the other submissions, just by virtue of one being 3D and two, just the way you're using the spider as a reference.
Yeah, and this one, in case you guys didn't know, the big one with the big aluminum foil, that one is a fly. And then, Tom, I think the Claire one with wire was based on insect wings. I can't remember which insect, but these are all basically insect cubes, but they're such strange objects. Like, I don't know if I stumbled upon these and I didn't know what the project was. I just feel like I'd be so fascinated by this. It's just so cool. And we have a comment from Scott Gilly. I'm going to assume you guys are related. I watched him do this all month. It was certainly amazing to see just how well it worked. Yeah, and I mean, if you go back, let's look at some of the 2D ones. I love the mummy. This is so funny and weird. What's your take on these drawn ones, Jordan?
Oh, I think they're awesome. I think as much as I love Spider-Man, I think my favorite is actually the Eeyore one. That one is just so, like, it's hilarious and also a bit sad at the same time, because I know who Eeyore is as a person. And like just seeing his tail and his ears and the mane kind of stick out, I think that's brilliant. And I've never seen a texture cube with a character like that in it.
And you know, it does help to give us exactly what we love, Jordan with Spider-Man and me with Michael. So of course we always appreciate that little extra push, right? Oh, okay. So here Tom is saying Scott is my awesome son. Okay. I figured there was some relationship going on in there. Cool. I like that Art Prof has become a family affair for some of you guys out there. So really cool. By the way, this image, this was actually really cool because in this photo, Tom's cube is on the left, but the real candy is on the right. And that was really fun too, seeing how some people had photos of what they made for comparison. I really enjoyed seeing that part of the dare. Okay, next artist we're going to talk about is Sunny Simmons from the US. And Sunny explains they learned a lot from the dare, tried to push themselves to predict what the lighting and shadows would look like, while not having to copy only a couple references to put it together. And so they painted objects in their room, other things where they liked the texture, but wouldn't otherwise paint in their usual artwork. They said the hardest ones were the glowing or translucent objects, figuring out how to really make it look like light is passing through or make it look like it glows. So let me read out loud to you guys what the objects are, because you may not be able to read them. So we have gummy candy, salmon, geode, scarab beetle, lava, rose quartz. We also have crystal, blood, salamander skin, ice, philosopher's stone, koi fish. Great range. What do you think? How did Sunny do, Jordan?
Oh, these are awesome. And honestly, part of it is just using gouache to do it, because gouache has always intimidated me personally. And I think these are really solid. And I think my favorites are the scarab beetle, and getting that effect of light just passing over it, like you were saying in the artist statement, how that was challenging for you. I think you pulled it off, especially right there. I love the bounce light, and again, the creativity in some of these, like the lava, the molten lava, how it's just kind of flowing off. I think these are really, really cool.
And Scott Gillis says these are fantastic. The salmon one just has the slightly saggy, for lack of a better word, quality that makes you just know it's meat. That is so funny, Scott, because I was just thinking that the salmon looks bouncy. Does that make any sense? I don't know. Like, it looks like it jiggles a little bit. There's definitely a sensory experience with a lot of these pieces that Sunny is doing. And I like that the blood, I don't know if you guys can see, but there's a little drop of blood that's going into the blood. There's like a little ripple. Like, I love that.
It's so morbid. But it's so cool at the same time. I've never seen a blood cube. That's just so creative.
Yeah, I think you did a great job, Sunny. And I think that you really were conscious of what to target, because the lighting and the shadows, that's a big part of making texture work well, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's I feel like that's the key, because there are certain parts where the light isn't hitting an object as strongly. But when you see the highlights on something, or you see how deep the shadows go, those are the things that really help push what the object is. And without that, I almost think any painting or drawing wouldn't be as successful without it. So I think when you put those in, it automatically improves the piece.
Awesome. Okay, we've got the next artist is Jacqueline M. And Jacqueline ended up doing Ferrero Rocher, which I love. Have you ever had one of those candies?
I don't think so.
Okay, so if you guys don't know what a Ferrero Rocher is, I'm sorry. You need to have one at some point. It's basically a chocolate meringue sphere that is filled with Nutella that has a hazelnut in the middle. And then the whole chocolate meringue sphere is covered with chocolate and hazelnuts.
Oh, wow.
So good. Oh my God, I could eat a whole box of those. So they did Ferrero Rocher sugar sprinkled candy. I don't know what this is. Edam, E-D-A-M. Maybe somebody in the chat can tell me what that is. And then the fourth one is cotton candy. So how do you think Jacqueline did?
Yeah, it's so interesting to see how everyone paints candy. I feel like a lot of the submissions so far have been candy, and I really like these because, especially in the, what'd you call the first one again? The
Ferrero Rocher. Rocher, I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, that one. I love the little caramel like shine on the top. Like, maybe it's not caramel. I'm not exactly sure because I don't know the candy, but I think just that little bit of detail is so solid. And I love how the cotton candy, you could see the swirls and what it's doing. And it'd be so easy to just go like plop. That's just, the top layer. But to actually go in and say, no, it's going to go in this direction, always really good touch. I love that.
Oh, okay. We have a very informed audience here. Emily is saying Edam, I don't know how to say it, is cheese. I never heard of that before. What does it taste like? Have you had this cheese before, Jordan?
No, I have not.
You guys have to tell us what that is, because I think of myself as such a cheese person. Like, I'm so into like Cambozola and Gouda and all that stuff. I've never heard of this before. That is really cool. Is it one that's like, I wonder, is it one that's covered in wax? Because I have this thing. You ever eat those Baby Bell cheeses, the ones that are covered in red wax?
I know what you're talking about. I always thought I never liked eating cheese like straight up. Like, it always had to be with something. Especially when I was younger. But now I haven't had cheese in like 4 years, so I don't actually know anymore.
Oh my God, I would die if I couldn't eat cheese. I think it's just the greatest thing. You know what else is cool about Jacqueline's piece too, is that these are done with watercolor and gouache. And I never thought about watercolor and gouache as an option until Alex Rowe, one of the teaching artists, told us about it. And now I'm like really fascinated about how to combine the two. And I feel like Jacqueline did a really nice job, especially on the sprinkled candy, the one on the bottom right. Like I can just feel the sugar lying on that surface. It's like really, really satisfying.
Yeah, that was really great.
Wow, you guys really know a lot about cheese. Scott Gillis is saying, I know cheese is candy in a lot of places. In Estonia, I remember cheese curd covered in milk chocolate. Oh, that sounds really good. Oh my God, I need to go to Estonia like right now. Okay, well that makes sense because the title of Jacqueline's piece is Cheese Was Candy too. Really cool. I love this. Okay, so the next artist is Madcat, and they say they challenged themselves in the dare to try more digital brushes than they had ever drawn. They'd never drawn any candy or bugs before. The dare made them realize that they should explore things they can enjoy drawing, and they found that bugs are cool. Ew, Blue Wolf Spirit, I'm with you. Yuck, I hate bugs. And it inspired Madcat to create their first original character from a bug. Okay, how did Madcat do, Jordan?
You know what I think is really interesting is there's a consistency of style here. I look at this and I'm like, these totally feel like they're part of the same set. And I really like where the bugs are going and how the texture is just being informed around the cube. I love that. I think I'm not sure what type of cube this one is, but it's the red one in the bottom row. I think that one's probably my favorite. It looks like some sort of gem or crystal or something like that. I think that's really solid, and it pushes the different types of planes that are on the cube. It's not just standard 6 sides. It's got a little bit of edge to it. I really like that.
I love the contrast. Don't you feel like the 3 on the top row are glowing and the others are like in a dark cave somewhere? It's strange because they're all lined up, they're all on the same page, and they're not in a space. But I really feel like each cube that Mad Hat made has its own individual lighting situation. And that's really great because it makes some of them really pop, and some of them are more subtle, and some of them feel more stable. So it's really interesting how my reaction to each cube seems so specific to what that cube is doing visually. So really, really cool. All right, next artist is Anne from Singapore. And Anne says that they gravitate towards making artwork that's minimalistic and, quote, flat. And so they wanted to take on the challenge to see if they could make realistic textures, learn how to draw textures that they might see in life. And so they used well-lit reference images, studied the images, used stuff in Procreate to get smoothness and roughness. And Anne explains that they found themselves using a flat brush often, pencil and an airbrush to add detail and dimension. And after spending time from each work each day, they noticed something new about the texture, and they would go back and rework the piece. How did Anne do with this, Jordan?
I think it went really solid. And, you know, the thing I really appreciate about this art statement in particular is just how Anne talked about the process that she used, using the soft brush and then going in like a pencil brush for the details. I think that's a great formula, and that's something I do something similar when I work. And I think it turned out really well. I definitely see the minimalistic aspect to it. And I think my favorites are probably the book on the top right. Just the way the pages are drawn, it feels like an old ancient book. And I just love the detail that's been put in there. And then the apple is also really solid. It may be because I haven't had breakfast yet and I'm just really hungry, but I think that that one looks really good for the shine that you see. Because getting a rounded apple and getting it and turning it into a cube is a very strange kind of idea. So I love how it turned out.
And we do have Madcat live here with us in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us. We love it when you guys are here live. Yeah, the apple one is really interesting because it's not as flashy as some of the other ones. Like if you look at the image, actually, it's the dragon fruit, the bright pink one in the middle left, that attracts my eye right away. But sometimes it's the more subtle textures that are not so dramatic that are tougher to do because you have to really see the nuances of the texture of the surface. And you guys probably can't see this on your screen because it's small, but in Anne's image of the apple, like you really can see like the shift of texture. Even though it's like smooth, you can see the changes in there. So like that's a lot of stuff you might not even notice if you're not looking carefully. But I think that matters, that level of subtlety, right?
Oh yeah, that attention and eye for detail is key whenever you're doing something like this. And part of the challenge in choosing these relatively simple objects like candy or a rock or whatever is learning to see things for the first time again, because we make all these assumptions since we've looked at these objects all our lives, and everyone knows what an apple looks like. Everyone knows but do you really know what it looks like? Can you really convince me that you can paint this cube to make it look like whatever object you're working on.
Blue Wolf Spirit is saying, I like the glass one. Is it a cube of glass or a cube of air? I think it's air, because doesn't the bottom look heavier than the top? Like the top looks like it's open. That's my interpretation. And Delaney is also saying the glass one at the bottom looks so realistic. And Angie is telling us that they love the book. I know, I'm such a fan of the book too. It's so weird. Like, I want that book, like a 3D version of that book, like a little tiny 1-inch cube of a book. I want that like on my desk somewhere. It's such a cool object. Okay, let's look at Cole Pepe from the US. And they said that they knew it'd be a great opportunity to practice their ability, but also their skill in digital art. Cole explains that digital is not their main medium, so it's a lot of fun to use a medium that wasn't as familiar. And it gave them lots of inspiration for future projects as well. What do you think about Cole's cubes?
I think these are solid as well. I think the avocado is my favorite. I'm picking food ones, I notice. It must be saying something about my current state of mind. But I like it because the way it has the gradients going. You know, it starts in the center with this yellowish green, and then it branches out to a more of a traditional greenish blue, and then even the highlights that you're getting on the seed, I think those are looking really, really solid. And you replicate that type of formula for the eyeball, and I believe those are that's an ice cube up there. So yeah, it's really, really solid.
I feel like there's a really satisfying crispness to the edge of the cubes. I don't know if that sounds really weird, but they just feel really, really tactile. And the sheen of things, so satisfying. Like, I don't know about you guys, but when I paint a portrait, part of me wants to paint that little spot of highlight on the eyeball. Like, that is so fun to do. And Cole, I really feel like we see how much fun you had making these, and they're done with so much care. And isn't the brown one in the upper right so funny? I feel like it's like the ugly duckling of the group.
Yeah, it's a fun one. I feel like there's such a story behind it. I kind of want to know more about what is this, and like how it's in this situation, like what's going on, you know?
We have a comment here from Zoe. They are saying Minecraft vibes. Of course, you guys are the Minecraft generation. You didn't play Minecraft, did you, Jordan?
No, I've never played it. I've seen my cousins and friends play it, though.
Well, my kids are definitely the Minecraft generation. And when we were driving cross country to Utah, there are all these cubes of grass that are in the farms and everything. And my kids would call them Minecraft cubes. Okay, this is definitely a generational thing that I do not understand. And Scott is saying, I enjoy the way the beating water is on the side of the ice cube. Makes me wish I had an icy drink or something this summer. Angie says the eyeball is brilliant. And Latamai says, I like the highlights on the cubes. Yeah, it's so satisfying to see this. And I bet you guys, one of the things that was fun about this is that you didn't have to feel like you had to get too involved, because if you did one cube, you didn't like it, you could move on and do another. So I like that it really got people to produce. Oh, this is a good one from Tom. The hair cube, let me just go back to Cole's piece. The hair cube looks like Cousin It from the Addams Family. That's wonderful. Okay, let's take a look at the next artist. I'm probably going to mangle your name, Gustavo Wilches from Colombia. And they say that for the art dare, they wanted to show the culture of their country. So for 3 weeks, they made Colombian sweets. And we also have these insects that we're looking at, and also these candies. So what do you think about these, Jordan?
I love these. I think, if I'm not mistaken, these are the first ones where we're really seeing line work play a prominent role in the cubes. And that's actually something I never really considered as we were given the assignment. And I think that's really, really awesome. And also, again, the creativity is totally there, especially with this page where you have the different insects and how they're being shaped. Like the one on the right with the picado, I think is what it is. I think I'm reading that right. How it doesn't take like quite a cube shape, but you can still see its influence and how it's curved on the top. I love little subtle things like that. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, really cool. And then this one, it actually really helped. I know on Instagram, a lot of people, when they posted their cube, they also put a photo of the object. And it was really, really helpful because, I mean, some of these, I know what they are, but I don't know what any of these candies are. I guess I know what a meringue is, but the other two I've never really seen before. So it was really fun to have that reference and to really understand that when I did not know the object so well. And David Pena saying, all these cubes inspired me to try messing with cubes myself sometime. Yeah, we have the lesson plan on artprof.org. So you guys don't have to wait for the art dare to try this. I mean, it's a really good exercise. Very cool. Yeah, Serena saying more cubes. Yeah, we can never have too many, right?
Never.
And then the other thing I was going to say, Jordan, is I really like that in these images that, I don't know, everything seems to have like a container, like this little, I guess it's a mineral. I don't know exactly what it is. I feel like it has a little crib it's sitting in.
Yeah.
And then this one, I don't know how to say this, Bocadillo has like the wrapper around it. I just love these little extra bells and whistles that Gustavo added. It gives them much more character, right?
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
All right. Let's look at the next artist, Julie Gillis. And Julie says, I really want to take this chance to improve my digital art skills, practice painting texture. And Julie said, I thought it would be a good opportunity. It was. I feel like I really improved on both aspects. All right, so we've got digital cubes from Julie. How did she do?
Everyone's testing my patience with the food. I need to get breakfast, guys. No, these are really, really solid. Again, like the way you're blending the colors and the paint is really amazing. And I think that the whole second row is really great, especially with the lettuce. I think that's the first time we've seen something that has that sort of complexity, because a lot of the times we'll see like something that's kind of already taking a cube shape, but lettuce does not do that naturally. And so to figure out how to get it to angle in a certain way but still read as lettuce, I think is a really successful painting overall.
I love the orange that's to the left of the lettuce, because I really just want to go in and pop every one of those little pieces of pulp. Like, it's so inviting and seductive the way that it's been made. And I feel the same way about, I guess it's a blackberry on the lower right, and also the pomegranate as well. I mean, it reminds me of those popping boba that you get when you get bubble tea or froyo or something like that. Sorry, Jordan, to tempt you even more. And then I love this one in the upper left. I don't know if you guys know this candy, but it's almost like a cocoon of sugar, but there's this like sweet peanut paste stuff in the middle. It's a candy that you get in different parts of Asia. But when I saw that, I knew exactly what it was. Like, it just brought back all these memories of eating that candy in Chinatown. So really, really fun. And we have a comment here from Cole saying, thank you so much for all the positive feedback. I had so much fun with this challenge. Yeah, the art dares are so fun because it's a moment to step outside of what you normally do and just try something for fun. And then at the end of the month, it's over. So it's not a very big commitment, but you can really learn a lot. Okay, we have Charlotte Fernando from the United Kingdom. And Charlotte says that the concept of drawing and painting from an object wasn't a cube, and then turning it into a cube created some initial confusion. So she really had to retrain her thinking, reimagine the object. And so she chose objects because she wanted to explore natural and man-made objects. So she used gouache, and she got to touch and handle the objects to understand their feel and texture, and that the art dare really helped them develop their use of color in mark making, and they would have maybe wanted to spend more time exploring the use of light and shadow. Okay, so we've got these cubes from Charlotte. How do you think she did?
You know, what I really appreciate about these is there's a sense of delicacy here that it feels very unique to Charlotte. And I think that I appreciate what she's saying about adding the light and shadow and everything, but I kind of like where it is now in some level, because it feels it feels consistent all throughout. It feels like I'm really getting to see what this texture is regardless of that. And I think that's a really tough challenge. And, you know, I mean, if you add the light and shadow, I'm sure it would only enhance it, but I really like where they stand now as well.
Yeah, people seem to really be responding to the banana. Unmesha is saying the banana is so cool. And Latamai is saying, I like how the banana looks like it's folded in on itself. Yeah, I mean, Charlotte mentions in the statement about she had trouble making that transition into the cube, but I think we can see we have some really innovative ways of doing that. And I was going to say, too, I love how subtle these are, because I think we've seen in some of the other submissions that people had colors that really popped and things that were very fun and very whimsical that make Jordan hungry. And in these, I don't know, they feel very, I don't know, regal in a way. It's strange. I mean, I feel like I'm calling a scrubby sponge regal. It's a little bit weird, but they really have a particular tone and atmosphere where I feel like I'm understanding something about Charlotte as a person. I don't know, they're a little bit emotional in a way. It's really, really interesting, so different than what we've seen from so many people here today. All right, guys, are you ready? We're going to announce the winners. We have an honorable mention, and we also have a prize winner. The honorable mention goes to Tom Gilly. So, Jordan, why did we give Tom Gilly the honorable mention?
Well, we kind of alluded to it before, but the overall experimentation and actually creating 3D cubes was a huge push forward for Tom. So that experimentation, along with the creativity of the subjects for the cubes, I think is really what helped push him to this spot.
Yeah, and I just feel like looking at the range of cubes that Tom created, that Tom, you were just like doing anything that came to your mind. And there's something so exciting about that level of productivity, because oftentimes people are so afraid to try something different because they're worried, oh, is it not going to look good? What if it does? And I feel like, Tom, you just didn't care. You just were like, I got this idea, I'm going to make it. And I just admire that so much, that you were so experimental. Things were so broad and so diverse. I think that's phenomenal. So great job, Tom. Okay, prize winner, Alyssa Mercado. Good work. So why did we pick Alyssa, Jordan?
Alyssa has, first off, just the number of cubes that are done. They're all done really well. The colors are fantastic, and each one actually says something about who she is as a person. You know, we read her artist statement where it talked about, yeah, these different experiences in my life inspired the cubes that I'm producing. And I think all those come together really well to create what you're seeing here on the screen.
Yeah, that personal investment, that to me is another layer where somebody's really going above and beyond the project. Because when I taught in the classroom, there are people who just do the project, and that's fine. But I feel like this narrative that Alyssa put into her piece really gives it a significant feeling of personality that I think was just phenomenal. I mean, one of my favorite ones is the fireflies. Does everybody see the one on the lower right's got like those glowing stars? Like, that's so magical and beautiful. So great job, Alyssa. And Tom is here with us saying, wow, so excited and humbled amongst the great artists on display today. And see, this to me, Tom, sums up why your cubes did so well. Yes, everything I saw was a potential cube. I mean, that's great. Like, that says so much about your outlook and the way you saw how things could transform. I mean, super, super fun, you guys. Remember, we still have a couple more days for you guys to do the August Art Dare, so check that out on our website. If you want to submit, just tag us at art.prof on Instagram, and you also want to use hashtag ArtProfDare. We do have a submission form on artprof.org if you are not on social media, so you guys can find that. I believe it's in the description below. And ArtProf has a podcast. We are on Spotify, also on iTunes. We would love it if you guys would leave us a rating and a review. And join us on Discord. After this, in a few minutes, Jordan and I will be in the post live streams channel to talk to you guys more about texture cubes or pizza for Jordan because Jordan hasn't had breakfast yet. And subscribe to our channel and join the Art Prof family. And thank you so much to our top Patreon supporters. Thank you to everybody who did the Art Dare, who came to the live stream to support each other. And congratulations to Tom and Alyssa for their prizes. Everybody, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.